everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on Smiling Through the Tears. We are so excited today to have Cindy DeRose on. She's going to be sharing about the heart disease that she had faced with a few years ago and some possibly life-saving information she has to offer that really benefited her with her heart disease that she had learned after having her heart attack. So hopefully you can get this information as a preventative. We're so thankful for her for coming and sharing her story, and we're just super excited to hear what she has to say. And so I just wanted to say thank you, Cindy, and welcome to the podcast. So how'd you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'd first like to say thank you for having me on the podcast. 65 years old. I'll be 66 July 20th. First off, I just want to tell everyone I'm not making any health claims. This is not meant to treat or mitigate any disease. Check with your doctor before starting any new wellness regimen, including diet or supplements. This is my story about my heart attack recovery, and it's on how you can naturally prevent heart disease from the lessons I learned from my heart attack on February 13, 2023.
So who is Cindy, and tell us a little bit about your family history with heart attack?
Yeah, first off, I'm married. I live in Canfield, Ohio, with my husband Lee, my 4 children, Brianne, Michael, twins, Elena, and Nathan. And I guess it was April 30th, 2010, I had a stroke. And fortunately, I did not have any physical impairments, speech impediments, and I found out I have a genetic defect called MTHFR. About 40 to 50% of the population have at least one copy, and it's important to put back in your body the nutrients that you're deficient. But luckily, I didn't have really any damage from the stroke. And then fast forward, February 13th of 2023, I had a heart attack. My symptoms were very mild. I had very slight tension in my right upper chest. I was walking at the mall with my friend who happened to be an RN, a nurse, and I told her about this slight tension. She said I needed to get it checked. And by the time I finished walking around the mall, I was nauseated. And she said, I'll take you to the hospital to get checked. I'll take you home. And I said, no, it feels like it's just the flu. I'll be okay. I'll get home. And from that point, a half an hour drive from Niles to Canfield, I knew something was not normal. So I called my husband. He said, you better get checked. So I called the paramedics. I told them it was probably nothing. They loaded me into the ambulance, and I said, I need something for the nausea and the nerves. And he did that, and a little bit later, the red flashing light came on, and he told the ambulance driver, are we almost there? Are we almost there? And at that point, he said, you are having a heart attack. So he rushed me to the emergency room, packed emergency room, downtown Youngstown, St. Elizabeth's. 8 ambulances were out front. I got into the emergency room, and the left hallway, you couldn't even see the end of the carts. By the grace of God, the right hallway, there was nobody in that hallway. So my paramedic rushed me into the exam room, and it was like the show Emergency. They were shoving nitro down my throat, starting an IV of heparin to thin my blood. The nurse said I was having a heart attack. They did a chest x-ray, and within minutes, I was rushed over to the cath lab, and I had a heart catheterization. And my cardiovascular doctor performed right coronary stent. My right coronary artery was blocked 100%. When I came out, I found out the cardiologist told my husband and sister that he actually stopped the heart attack. The next day was Valentine's Day, and because the cardiologist wanted to make sure I was stable, he then did a second stent in my LAD, the left coronary artery. I was fortunate to find out that my echocardiogram was normal. My cardiologist said that I had very little damage that would regenerate in about 3 months. He said the heart attack happened because of my genetics. My mom and dad both had heart disease. They both had a 5 bypass. My dad lived to be 82. My mom lived to be 89. But I found out later that because of the shutdown, I got a lot of inflammation and it damaged the lining of my blood vessels. And I'm just blessed that God saved my life. And from that point, I started working with a naturopathic doctor. She helped naturally reduce my inflammation, which is the root of all disease and illness. And I got a lot of inflammation from when I was affected by the shutdown, and it left me with the toxic spike protein. So, it's a very specific glutathione that I take, better than a hospital IV of glutathione. And at that point, the cardiologist wanted me to take a statin, and I told him I wanted to lower my cholesterol naturally. And I also went to the world-renowned Cleveland Hospital for a second opinion, and that cardiologist told me I needed to take a statin to reduce my cholesterol. And from that point, I was able to get in contact with a world-renowned preventative cardiologist, Dr. Gandhi, in Encinitas, California, and I worked with her via Zoom. The first 12 weeks, I had an hour-long Zoom. It was an intensive heart-healthy program. Then it became once a month. And it's because of her, she helped reduce my cholesterol naturally. My naturopathic doctor helped reduce the inflammation with that specific glutathione. I made sure with Dr. Gandhi, she helped me with the whole food plant-based diet. And I do yoga like 2 to 3 times a day, exercise about 3 times a week.
So let me ask you a question. You said that you had very mild symptoms when you had your heart attack, just a little bit of like pressure, tension in your chest, and you got nauseous. But I'm sure since your heart attack, you did a lot of research. So just for anybody listening, what are other potential side effects that you could have or symptoms that you may have that you know of that people should watch out for and be aware of?
Right. This is very, very important for everyone to know, that heart disease is the number 1 killer in women and men. But for women, we do not have traditional symptoms like men do. A lot of the listeners heard it feels like an elephant on your chest, the sweating, chest pain, shortness of breath. My symptoms only lasted a very short time. They would come and go. I was playing pickleball like a couple days before. I just thought I had the flu. So
how long had you experienced some of those symptoms leading up to the walk at the mall? Had it been more than just pickleball, or that was the first time a couple days before that you were playing pickleball?
Yeah, I would say probably about maybe a week before I had that slight bit of tension. But the thing that it just didn't stay. It would come and go.
Did you have extreme tiredness?
No, but when I was playing pickleball, and I am very active, I normally exercise like, 2 to 3 times a week. I try to walk a lot, but I felt a little bit like out of shape. And that was actually just a couple days before.
Now, did the doctor say that it's typical to have just the symptoms that you had? Is that the norm, or was that just your experience?
That was just my experience, and there's a lot of different symptoms that women could have, like back pain, pain in their jaw, shortness of breath. But if there's any indication of any one of the symptoms, even be mild, it's important to get it checked out. I thought I had the flu.
Right.
And I think that's why it's important to know what the symptoms are, so that you know, because it could be life-saving, and minutes can be huge in the midst of a heart attack. And in your case, you were fortunate enough to be able to get there in time where...
Thanks to your family. Yeah, your family encouraging you to
My
get checked
family encouraged
out.
me. And just to let everyone know, I do come from the medical field. I was an X-ray technologist, supervisor in mammography. So I've been around health and wellness. I'm, all about anti-aging, staying on the top of the cutting edge anti-aging technology. I work with a naturopathic doctor. And with all of that, I still did not, think I was having a heart attack.
I don't think many people would have thought that with what you were feeling. I wouldn't have.
Right.
And so what was your diagnosis? Just you had a heart attack, or was there anything further that you learned?
Just real quick, though,
Okay.
something that popped into my head is that
Sure.
think about what she said. She said that her one artery was
100% blocked. That's the right coronary artery. That is your main coronary artery.
And she only had mild symptoms.
And wasn't the other side 90%?
And the left, it's called LAD, was 90% blocked.
Wow.
Right.
You're a walking miracle.
I am a walking miracle. When I was in the hospital only 2 days, and when the nurse called me from the hospital, she said, "Cindy, you are one lucky lady," after she was looking at my chart. And just to let all the listeners know, do not deny if you have any one of these symptoms.
Better safe than sorry, that's for sure.
It's not the flu. No. It's probably not the flu.
And how long did you spend in the hospital, Cindy?
I went in February 13th, 2023, and that's when the cardiologist did the right coronary artery stent after he did the heart catheterization to show the blockages. And then the next day was Valentine's Day, February 14th, so I was able to go home that evening.
Wow.
Awesome. And what was your recovery like? Once you left the hospital, were you good to go, or were you in bed for a while? How did that look?
No, actually, and there again, before I had the heart attack, I always have a lot of energy, but following when I got home, I was 100% back to normal, doing everything that I did before.
Wow.
Just had to follow up, with my doctors. But I will tell you that Dr. Praticha Gandhi in Encinitas, California, the world-renowned preventative cardiologist, I know God sent her to me. She was a blessing, and it's because of her that I'm doing so good.
How'd you find her?
I found her because she was in another wellness company that I knew of, and I was looking for a preventative cardiologist so that I would be able to naturally reduce my cholesterol.
And did you do that?
Yes. Oh, yes. And here's what happened. Okay, so in June of 23, when I started working with Dr. Gandhi, my inflammation, which is measured in what's called a blood test called CRP, C-reactive protein, 1 to 8 is the range. And in June of 23, I was 4.5. September, it went to 1.2. Dr. Gandhi said she wasn't so much concerned about what my glutathione blood level, but she was very happy that my inflammation was reduced to 1.2. That was very important. And so then I started working with her, like I said, once a week with an hour-long Zoom, and then it became once a month for the rest of the year. But right at that point, I had my cholesterol rechecked. At first, in June, my cholesterol, the LDL, was high, and my LDL was just in the normal range, but we had to get the LDL bad cholesterol down. So with taking the glutathione and what Dr. Gandhi told me to take naturally to help reduce cholesterol, my overall cholesterol's normal, my LDL bad cholesterol's normal. But one thing I want our listeners to hear, very important, there's a very specific cholesterol panel that everyone needs to know about. It's an advanced cardio lipid panel that tells you your overall cholesterol, your LDL, that's the bad cholesterol, and it also tells the CRP inflammation. And lastly, it will tell you on your LDL bad cholesterol if you're pattern A or pattern B. Pattern A is preferred, and Dr. Gandhi explained it. She was happy that I was pattern A, and what that means is, she said in layman's terms, it's like if you have one room in your house that's dirty, but the rest of your house is clean. That's why the LDL is not as critical. Still important to, keep your cholesterol down, but I think inflammation is what is really important.
Let me ask you something. You were talking about what is so important about the blood test. Is it typical for the doctors to give you those specific ones?
No.
So what ones do they normally call for?
In fact, when I went to my new cardiovascular doctor at University Hospital, I showed her what Dr. Gandhi wanted. It's an advanced cardiac lipid panel that gives you very specific results. And I told her that Dr. Gandhi wanted it. She didn't even know what it was.
Wow.
And she said, all I can do is, she just wrote down on her tablet. Now, I'm telling you, my cardiovascular doctor is a good doctor. It's probably been 30 years, a very, very good doctor. She was actually my mom's doctor. Mm-hmm. That Mom had a clot in her leg before she passed away, but she did not know how to order it. And when I showed her the results, last March, she didn't really know how to interpret some of that advanced cardiac lipid panel. She did not know what pattern A and pattern B was, but she still stands by the statins, even though my overall cholesterol was normal. Oh, what I'd like to lastly say on my last report with my cardiovascular, every year for 14 years, I have had a carotid ultrasound on my neck since my stroke in April of 2010. Every year it was unchanged until this last March, after working with Dr. Gandhi, lowering my cholesterol, and with all her other heart healthy recommendations, I had the best report on my carotid artery in 14 years.
Wow.
My cardiovascular doctor told me in Cleveland, she said I had less plaque in the carotid artery, better circulation. She said, Cindy, in fact, you're doing so good, you don't even need to have a carotid ultrasound next year. Just come for your checkup with me.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I know that there is a place for medicine. Sometimes people literally need it and it can be life-saving.
That's
However,
right.
I don't know if you feel the way I do, but it's my opinion that a lot of the medication actually just mask the actual problem and then also cause 100 other different side effects, along with curing one problem but creating more.
Absolutely. I agree 100%, Christina. I am one, and after working with my naturopathic doctor, Lana, exactly, when there are those certain circumstances where you do need a specific medication, but it is, for the most part, in my opinion, like a Band-Aid fix.
Absolutely.
I personally would rather get to the root of the problem. Mm-hmm. And I had 2 cardiologists in Ohio telling me to take a statin, and I'm not on a statin. I, fully embrace the natural way.
And if I understand you correctly, after 3 months of taking the stuff that the natural doctor recommended, your numbers went down drastically.
Oh, absolutely.
That's incredible.
Absolutely. Remember, CRP inflammation, if your doctor doesn't order it, I think it's a very, very important test. I think inflammation right now, if you went on PubMed.gov, that's PUBMED, PubMed.gov, G-O-V, in the search bar, put in glutathione, you will find 180,000 reports related to low glutathione and disease. No matter what you put glutathione, whatever disease, process illness, diabetes, arthritis, it's just amazing. And the glutathione, by the way, that I take is actually more effective and costs a lot less than a hospital IV of glutathione that has become so popular recently. A hospital IV is anywhere between $200 and $300. It only lasts in your system 90 minutes to 6 hours. Dr. Lana, my naturopathic doctor, said you would literally need an IV of glutathione every day. The glutathione specifically I take, 2 capfuls in the morning, 2 at night, hold it in my mouth 4 minutes. It's in my bloodstream in 70 seconds.
So let me ask you this. Where do you think you would be in your recovery had you not met that natural doctor?
Yeah, Dr. Lana, she has been a godsend. I've known her since 2018. 1 month after my heart attack, she told me how to reduce inflammation and also detox your liver daily. And when you get that toxic spike protein from the shutdown, it does all of that. So that's my number one most important. And with her and working with Dr. Gandhi, the world-renowned preventative cardiologist, both of them have been a godsend. And I today, to let everyone know, I feel absolutely amazing. I'll be 66 July 20th. And I feel like I'm in my 30s.
That's like
Awesome.
amazing.
Hey, real quick, let me
ahead.
ask you a question.
Sure.
With what you went through, does your family, you said you had 4 children, are they a little bit more on alert when it comes to making sure if they have any symptoms, or what are their thoughts? Have they talked to you about that?
Oh, right. With my 4 children, my twins are 31, Brianne and Michael, and Elena's 29, Michael's 24. But they are very much, as well as me, into, the natural approach. Mm-hmm. And actually, I did find out there is a calcium score test that you can have done. I believe University Hospital, if you Google it, look it up, and if you have a doctor's order, it's a test that can actually show, kind of like a CAT scan, if you have plaque in your coronary arteries. So, yeah, my daughter wants myself and my husband to have that test. But lastly, on Dr. Gandhi, I'll be going in September for 3 weeks to California because Dr. Gandhi said everything I'm telling you is going to be science-based, and it has been. Mm-hmm. And she has a Heart Strong Wellness program in Encinitas, California, where I spoke there to a group of people about heart disease, the number one killer in women. Mm-hmm. And at the end of that talk, the whole room started clapping. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. I will be going back there because I'm going to have a procedure called EECP. It's a natural heart bypass. Dr. Gandhi said, I just want you to know you will never have to have open heart surgery, coronary stents, as long as I continue on the whole food plant-based diet, exercise, and everything that I'm doing. The reason I'm going to have the natural heart bypass, there's over 400 health benefits from it. It will increase circulation, open up more collaterals. So she said if ever I get plaque again in my coronary arteries, it's kind of like I call it an insurance policy.
Backup.
Yeah.
It's your backup.
My backup.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Do you
Cool.
take any pharmaceutical drugs?
The only pharmaceutical drugs I take is I take a thyroid medication and just one little blood pressure pill. But actually, after I have the EECP in September, I may be able to go off of that,
That
too.
would be great.
Yeah.
So, Cindy, do you think God had his hands in this, in your recovery, in your life?
Oh, Christina, absolutely, 100%. God had his hands on me. When I got to that packed emergency room with 8 ambulances, the left hallway, you couldn't see the end of the carts, and that right hallway was open for me. I know God was with me to share my story with all of you and help as many people as I can, not just women, but heart disease is the #1 killer in women and men.
Do you think that there was anything that you could have done to prevent this?
Well, the only thing I could have done that I wish I knew about it earlier, that specific glutathione that I mentioned, it actually came out in July of 21. And when I was affected by the shutdown, I absolutely should have done a detox with that glutathione, but I just did not know about it.
Yeah, you didn't know the importance of it till now.
And I didn't find out about this glutathione until a month after my heart attack.
That's unfortunate. That's why it's so good for the listeners to hear, so you can do this as a preventative, so you don't end up being in Cindy's case where you're in the hospital and getting all these stents and everything and having to have all these medical procedures done. But I just wanted to say that heart disease runs in my dad's family. He has 4 brothers. All of them had to have open heart surgery. All of them have heart disease. His sister just had open heart surgery a few years ago. So this is something that's really close to my heart, literally. And so as for me, I, of course, having the background that I have with so many people in my dad's family having heart disease, it's always in my mind like, oh my gosh, is this going to happen to me? So what advice would you give, not just me, but other listeners that have a history of heart disease in their family?
Right. First of all, I just want to tell everyone, like Dr. Gandhi said, 90% of heart disease is preventable. And when you talk about genetics, like Christina just did, as well as myself, my mom and dad both had a 5 bypass open heart surgery. Okay, it's more important to know that 75% of your destiny with your health is in your hands. Take control of your health and your heart, and only 25% is actually related to genetics.
That's good to know. And that's true. It is our responsibility to look out for ourselves. Nobody else is going to be looking out for our health like we need to. And we're responsible to take care of ourselves the best of our ability. And fortunately, we have people like you that you had to kind of be the forerunner and going through everything in order to find out about this product, in order to bring it to other people's attention to prevent them from having to go through the things that you did. So thank you so much for just being willing to go out there, and you're going to all these different places and telling people, and I admire you for that. And thank you so much for doing that and helping so many people that cannot have to go through the things that you did. So thank you, Cindy. I really appreciate that. And is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you'd like to say that you feel is important? We have a few more minutes here.
And I just want to say thank you, Christina and Craig, for having me on this podcast, helping me to have a bigger platform to get the word out. I belong to Go Red for Women. I plan on extending my reach there. And if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can reach me by either my email. It's cindy.derose@icloud.com. That's cindy.derose@icloud.com. Or reach out. My cell phone is 330-550-7604. I'd be happy to share, my story, or if you have any questions. And God bless all of the listeners, and God bless Christina and Craig. Through God, all things are possible.
Amen. Greg, did you have any questions in closing?
No, I think she did a fantastic
Yes, she
job.
did.
A lot of people are going to benefit from this, and thankful that we have people who are motivated to help others, and that is a good description of Cindy.
Yes. Yes. So thank you so much for all your knowledge and for sharing it with all of us. And I want to thank all of our listeners for listening. And I know that we all go through many hurts in our life and disappointments, and know that you got to keep smiling through the pain, and know that God has always got your back. Have a nice rest of your day.
God bless.